In this video, we'll talk about how to build wealth in 2025. Things you can do, not just trading related, but more on a bigger scale, and how you can actually build your income, build your wealth, increase your net worth. So looking forward to talking about this. A lot of stuff to cover here, and we'll dive right in. All right, so let's begin with what's the first step to increase your wealth? Where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, we've chose the path of trading that obviously, works for us. And obviously, if you're watching us, that's something you want to consider. But I think to start with wealth, it has to get to the granular, boring stuff. And I think the first thing I want to hear yours, the ideas too, Etienne, is paying yourself first. It's about whatever you do, you have your paycheck, take it and put some aside. And sometimes it's painful. I know, the kids need medicine and things like that. But, and you want to take care of the essentials, but, maybe cut back on some of these frivolous things. And you could have your coffee, but maybe, the grande latte or things like that. The car, keep it simple. That adds up, especially in your development as a professional and career person. And that's going to allow so many opportunities down the road, which sometimes we don't see, which will lead to a life of we call abundance.
I mean, the way I look at it is like everything you do in life has a return on investment. Some things like a good return, some things like a decent return, some things maybe even like a negative return. Maybe it's a bad return on investment. So like, let's say you go like at the bar for like 3 hours, you just drink, that's a bad return on investment. If you trade, that's a good return per year, and you're gonna get like 20%, 30% a year. If you invest in yourself, like you learn more skills, you develop yourself, that's a really good return on investment. That's a really high one. But everything you do has a return. You just have to figure out like which one is the best, and then you put your efforts and money into it.
Yeah. I mean, think about we'll look at it as expense. Like there's the category. It's an accounting term, expense. But really, what type of return are you getting out of that expense? As a traveling trader, we have this phrase that traveling is the only expense that makes you richer. And I love it. I mean, it's it's something I have on my wall in my office. But it's think about not just the expense, but what's the ROI? Happy hour with a bunch of guys drinking and stuff. Maybe not that great, but you know what? Maybe those guys help you with other things or they inspire you. Maybe they just give you an outlet to give you a break. Maybe that drink is with someone who's going to, fund your account or maybe meet the person of your dreams. Who knows? So now all of a sudden, that expense may be the best expense you do. But you have to look at it as optimizing that. You don't need these excess type things. Have that expense, find a home to think, where is this going to take me? And you were a great point. Your time is your biggest expense too. Optimizing your time. And sometimes that costs a little more to get your time back. But I have found, and as I get older, and you're an expert at this, that time is super, super valuable.
Yeah, sometimes I ask myself, like, if you want to do something, like you really want to buy something or you want to do something special, you want to spend your money on something, you ask yourself, how can you make it worth it? Like, what are some things you can do with it to make that thing worth your time or worth your money? And then you can actually make sometimes more money back with it. Like, for example, if you fly business class, it's a big expense. But what if you meet someone in business class that can help you with your business or your life or your capital and trading?
Right.
That could be worth it completely.
Just 3 or 4 days of not having jet lag is the most one of the most productive things. I'll give you some. I sponsored students from Brazil to come to New York, and I love the innocence because they didn't have a lot of wealth, but they had like a desire, a passion to succeed. And a couple times I was looking at my car and this and that, and I was complaining about something, and I never forgot one of my students said, like, Michael, quattro pneus, like, what are you talking about? 4 wheels, and it was great because it inspired me, saying, stop bitching. Like, you just need 4 wheels. Doesn't matter. To get to A and B, you just need 4 wheels that are good quality. So, it was very inspiring in the sense of, and it really brings up a really another point of how to create wealth in 2025 is about frugality. Like, let's make 2025 the year that frugality is friggin' cool. Don't be embarrassed by it. Say, you know what? You don't have to impress everyone with all these things. Just be yourself. Be likable. Do something for you. That's an investment that's going to pay off so many times down the road. And quite honestly, I like being a little frugal sometimes. Not cheap, frugal, good quality at a good price. Yeah, we do so many things that are excess. And, I was reading a story where half the people don't realize when they told them how many like social accounts or like paid premium services for TV and watching they have, they didn't know. They looked at their bills and they didn't know how many they had. Like Netflix, this, that, all these other. I'm like, that's the streaming service. Like that's like money going out the door and they didn't even know it. So, part of frugality is understanding what you're spending your money on and how much you're getting in return. And that could be joy. It's not about education all the time. Just, what are you getting in return? Taking a look at that. And maybe this conversation just inspires you to just look and say, yeah, I am going to look and see what's making me happy, what's giving me joy, and really what type of return I'm getting on my sort of frugal lifestyle.
What are some of the practical ways people can actually build their wealth? Like people might work like 9 to 5 job, or they have like a really busy schedule. They work, they get a certain income. They cannot really find ways to increase that. What can they do to really build wealth?
I'm a big fan, and we teach our traders this, within our community, but I'm a big fan just in general to have what they call a development plan. Where, what do I want to do? What are the things I have to do to sort of get me a little bit closer to where I want to be? And that's not about learning a strategy per se. It could be, I'm going to open my doors to new people. I'm going to learn how to communicate and articulate in the sense where people want to hear what I have to say. It could be like we just talked about, like what are things I'm spending on and how much am I getting back at that? But I think it's a question of, to do that, you have to have an action. And each item in your sort of development should have an action that you are going to take to get you closer. There may be some that's just a revolving wheel that's going to take years and years and years. But other little practical things is very achievable. Just having that knowledge to have a plan and taking action. But the key is to start having the ability to say, I'm going to do this. And you'd be surprised. You start tracking things more and things that you start making more valuable decisions. But it starts with having a plan, doesn't it always?
I think everyone should have a certain like money management plan. Like they get some money, they earn some income. They should have a plan on how they spend it. Like what they use it for. They should invest part of it. They should maybe use part of it for some more risky investments, and then maybe they save part of it for just the future, for retirement, for a buffer. I think people don't tend to do this, so they just like tend to invest a little bit, or they spend it all and invest what they have left. You got to have a plan of like how much you spend, how much you use for investing, how much you actually put in some things, and having a more like safe and a more maybe risky a little bit investment too is a good thing to have.
You have to push it a little bit. I found I'm very conservative by nature. I'm very risk averse, but when I tend to push it a little bit, I'm rewarded. And that's the math says I should be. But understand that like saving it almost comes across like sacrifice. But the problem we have now, it's not sacrifice, by the way. You're actually, and it's not even about retirement. Maybe you're at an age that may even play, but it's just something for the future. You're creating options in your life that you can choose, where before you say, I have no choice to do it. But the thing I want people to understand is that this type of quote sacrifice is because it's challenging, because there's a lot of shiny objects in our life. I mean, you're younger than me, but there wasn't all these like little shiny objects that we want. Now everybody wants the shiny objects, and they all come at a price. And understand that, you know, how much value are they adding to? So cut back on the shiny objects. And maybe you realize after you cut back, say, I really like that one. You know what? Okay, go get it. But these other three, I don't need. I don't need to impress. You want to impress someone or create wealth? Impress yourself. Don't try to impress others, because eventually you can't keep it up. Right?
Yeah.
Just make you the best you possible. I think that's the key to wealth creation.
One of the things I did when I wanted to really increase my income in trading and also the things like I traded around myself with people who are already at that level or like way beyond. And then you just like talk with them, get to know their perspective on things, their mindset on certain things, and you kind of just develop a lot that way. You can really change your whole perspective on some things by talking to people and seeing how different they are in what they do.
Yeah, and the right people. I mean,
For sure. Yeah.
I've always looked at it as people who are providing just like energy and fuel to what your drive is and what you want to do. And then there's the suckers. You call them up and they quit. It's like, how's it going? Yeah, the influence. How's it going? Oh boy, here we go. He's going to tell me how it's going. Well, maybe look in the mirror, because that's how it's going, because it's you, not somebody else or the world or things like that. So surrounding yourself, or putting yourself in a position to have people in your life that are sort of supporting your fuel to your wealth creation. Notice how we're not talking about like investment returns or exotic things, and that's part of it. But really, a lot of this wealth creation comes from looking in the mirror saying, I believe I can do this. And it's not always about savings, interest, and things like that. It's about making yourself a better you, educating yourself, investing, like you said, investing in the things that are going to get you there, but having sort of people in your life that will sort of guide you and push you to where you want to be. Sounds like it's almost like philosophical, borderline spiritual, but it's so important for wealth creation. We're so focused on the math, the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, but give me the right path and give me the right people and give me the right knowledge to get me there, and that will fast track you there.
You mentioned saving your money, and that's cool. People think, oh, you just put money in the bank and like leave it there and like save it. What's good is it gonna do? Is that all you have to do, or should you like? I think all the money you have saved should have some kind of return on it, and more than the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we want the most return, but usually that comes with a higher risk.
Yeah.
So there's a balance to that. But I think one of the sort of key takeaways for this conversation, I love where this conversation is going. Like we're on wealth building, is everything you own should have a return. Think about it. Like list your assets. Yes, cash equivalents. Maybe some savings, retirement, whatever. They should have a return. Your money should be constantly working for you. Even if maybe it's small and you don't want to have to be worried about it or have a risk, that's okay. Have your assets working for you. Even if it's you own a home. Okay, well, it's working for you because it's providing a nice, safe place to live and raise kids or whatever the case may be. Okay, that's a return, right? That will help you in your wealth building thing. But let's start with sort of any excess money you have. Maybe it's your trading funds and things. I have my trading account. My accounts are relatively small. I don't know about you, Etienne. I'm always shifting that idle money towards things that are working for me. So I have like this, return of money. And then if I need it, I can always put it back. What do you do? Is that your
Definitely, I have some bigger accounts and some smaller accounts, and they kind of all work for different market, different things. But I mean, the biggest chunk is to have some money saved up on the side too that kind of stays there, earns a small return, but like it's just there for like a buffer, kind of like a safety buffer.
Yeah, it keeps you from over trading too, with all this capital and things like that. So you have this sort of you're managing your wealth business, and trading is an important part of that. But if it's capital that's not being used, that's something you need to change in 2025. Have everything working for you, and I know it's small, but it's amazing how that stuff adds up. It's really, really cool, and hopefully, get you on the path to where you want to go.
I mean, the goal with this is not to just make money for the sake of making money. It's really the goal is to be able to have freedom and do what you want to do with your time, and being able to live the way you want and have enough money to do it. Like that's really the goal. That's what you want. What you want to get to.
Absolutely. And what do you have? 140,000 subscribers now, or whatever this. So you can have 140,000 different opinions on what freedom is. That's what's great about freedom. But one of the things that's cool about freedom is the ability to have a choice of some of the things you want to do. So, if you have all this wealth and maybe you have hindrances, I can't do this because I do this. I can't do this because I'm not healthy. But if you have the choice, say, okay, I can do this, 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 or this. I have options in my life. That's freedom too. So build that wealth. Say, well, why are you building it? Maybe I don't have the reason, but you know what I want? I want options to choose what I want to do when the time comes. To me, that's my version of wealth creation.
I mean, you call this a crossover point also.
Yeah, it's and again, it's part of having every asset that you have, and even if they're small, working for you. So you have like your employees, right? It's all working for you, and eventually that's going to help you get to a crossover point where we work most of our lives, sometimes many of us, all of our lives, to support the things that we want to do. But how about the point where your money is now working for you to have the same lifestyle? And that's what that crossover point is. And things change. I mean, needs change, lifestyle changes, right? But if you can get closer to that crossover point, that's what everybody should start doing in 2025. If you're not there yet, that's fine. Most of us aren't. But we slowly say, that's where I want to get, to the point where my money is mostly working for me as opposed to me working for my money. And it sounds like impossible. It starts with that little plan. Maybe it's this video that sparks the interest, that gets people to think about it. And what a better time than the new year.
Hope you got somebody out of this visual. If no, in the comment section, your favorite advice, what you will apply from this. I want to know your thoughts. And we want to actually take action from this, of course. Michael will be here for a few more videos. We're going to talk about how to build wealth. We're going to talk about trading also, more and more. But check it out. They're going to come pretty soon. And we'll catch you back here in the next video quite soon. Ciao.